This might sound crazy, but I think XRP is quietly becoming Ripple's secret weapon. And you won't believe how a few charities using Ripple's stablecoin just tipped me off to this. It all started when I came across a headline about non-profits using Ripple's stablecoin to send aid across the world within seconds. I had to do a bit of a double take. I mean, that kind of real-world crypto story is pretty rare, and it kind of felt like a clue to something much bigger. So by the end of this video, you're going to see why I'm convinced that Ripple is turning XRP into a $100 billion plus war chest for a global finance, and why that actually matters right now. But first, here's a quick heads up. If you love discussing crypto and learning together, then join the free Discord server that's linked in the description below. It's totally free, and it's a great way to connect with us and other crypto enthusiasts. Alright, let's get back to the story, because Ripple has a big conference, Swell, it's coming up, and they recently revealed something that really jumped out at me. Major non-profits like World Central Kitchen, Give Directly, Water.org, and 𝗗𝗀𝘀𝗰𝗀 have, actually started using Ripple's payment system and stablecoin called RLUSD to move money across the borders. Now, these organizations are literally sending funds in seconds, even to places where banks or infrastructure are really relatively weak. Now, let's just think about that. Disaster relief funds or charity donations arriving almost instantly instead of having to wait days. For example, Water.org recently began routing all of its Latin America transactions through Ripple after successful pilot programs in Mexico, Brazil, and Peru. Now, meanwhile, you had 𝗗𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is testing RLUSD for things like insurance payouts in Kenya, and Give Directly is gearing up for similar pilots too. Now, this is real. This is ground-level impact, and it's not just hype. Now, it's a direct answer to anyone claiming that crypto has no real-world utility. And beyond speed, of course, it also means lower fees and better transparency for those non-profits. Now, Ripple's system, it offers lower transaction costs and much faster settlements. So more of each actually donated dollars actually reaches the people who need it the most. And that is huge. Now, RLUSD itself is Ripple's US dollar stablecoin, and it's less than a year old, but it's already blown past $900 million in market cap. Less than a year, nearly $1 billion backing it. Now, Ripple is positioning this stablecoin as a core part of their modern humanitarian and financial infrastructure, and you can see why. It's combining the speed of crypto with the reliability of the US dollar in a way that really works on the ground. Ripple's execs are understandably excited. You've got Jack McDonald, Ripple's head of stablecoins, highlighted that over $50 million worth of RLUSD has been deployed for social impact projects so far, and that it works across both the XRP ledger and the Ethereum ledger. So it's interoperable, which actually opens up a whole ton of possibilities. He also mentioned more partnerships are on the way as people realize that these stablecoins, or at least what these stablecoins, can do. And Ripple's president, Monica Long, chimed in by calling this real adoption and real impact. Now, she basically said, look, this isn't just a pilot or a concept. It's actually making a difference right now. She also teased that at Swell, Ripple's big annual event, which is just around the corner, they're going to share more on how blockchain payments are becoming the infrastructure behind global aid. So yeah, this is all happening in real time, and Ripple's making sure that everyone knows about it. Hearing all of this, I was genuinely excited. Now, as a crypto enthusiast, seeing actual use cases that help people is kind of like a dream scenario. But then I had a sobering thought. Where does this leave XRP, the cryptocurrency? Ripple's been using a dollar stablecoin to do all of these amazing things, but does that mean that XRP is now taking a bit of a back seat? Well, it's a fair question and a lot of people have been asking. So if everything can run on RLUSD, is XRP even needed here? And the question just kept nagging at me, like XRP has always been at the heart of Ripple's strategy, or at least so we thought, especially for bridging currencies. Now, for a moment, I even wondered, is Ripple quietly abandoning XRP? Now, that idea was honestly a little bit upsetting. XRP was supposed to be the star of the show. I needed to find out what was really going on. So, I did what any curious crypto nerd would go ahead and do. I started digging through community discussions and expert opinions for answers here. And the big light bulb moment came from something prominent XRP community member, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋 actually said. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, now we got that out of the way, let's dig into what 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋 actually revealed. Because 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋 is a well-known voice in the XRP space, and her perspective really kind of clicked for me. Now, she pointed out that Ripple's long-term strategy is finally coming into focus, and XRP is right at the center of it. Now, according to her, Ripple has been laying down deep strategic roots via acquisitions, partnerships, and expanding stablecoin use. And all of it is geared towards leveraging XRP in increasingly strategic ways. In fact, 𝗂𝗋 described XRP as Ripple's potential ultimate strategic war chest, right? She even kind of tweeted that Ripple has carved deep strategic paths into global finance and will innovate to unleash XRP's power, transforming their escrow into the ultimate strategic war chest. Now, let's just think about that phrase then, war chest. Right? It implies that Ripple could use its XRP stash as a massive reserve of capital and liquidity to deploy whenever and whatever is needed across their entire ecosystem. Honestly, that makes a whole ton of sense when you look at the numbers. Ripple is sitting on about 35 billion XRP locked up in escrow, plus around 5 billion XRP that is not locked up. Now that's roughly 40 billion XRP effectively under Ripple's control. Now at current prices, that would be over $100 billion worth of ammo, if you will. Now, over $100 billion, that's not just some kind of tiny rainy day fund. That's a colossal war chest in crypto terms. Now, what can you do with a war chest like that? Potentially a lot. Now, 𝗂𝗋, she kind of suggests, and I do agree to a point, that XRP could be used to provide liquidity to financial institutions, to inject capital into new projects or new markets, and settle large transactions almost instantly. Now, it gives Ripple a huge degree of flexibility. Essentially, XRP can be the grease in the wheels of everything that Ripple is actually building. And Ripple has been building a lot, quietly but decisively. Right? They haven't been shouting about all of this from the rooftops as much as their legal battles or big partnerships. But they have been on a shopping spree, at least a shopping acquiring company spree, if you will, along with their technology. Now, just in the past year, Ripple acquired a prime brokerage called Hidden Road. They've rebranded to Ripple Prime. Love it, by the way. A major digital custody provider called Standard Custody, and a crypto infrastructure company called Metaco. And of course, we can't forget a treasury management platform called 𝗗𝗋𝘋𝗀𝗋. Now, each of those, it fills a key gap in the puzzle, doesn't it? The prime broker gives Ripple's clients access to large trading liquidity. The custody and security acquisition, Standard and Metaco, ensure that any asset can be stored and managed safely. And the Treasury platform helps businesses integrate Ripple's solutions into their day-to-day financial operations. Basically, Ripple can now offer a complete suite of crypto-enabled financial services to big players. So, when you take a step back, it looks like Ripple is assembling an entire crypto-powered financial ecosystem. Trading, custody, payments, possibly even lending and other services, all under the Ripple umbrella. So, where does XRP fit into this picture? Well, XRP is like the connective tissue, or maybe the engine in this whole entire ecosystem. One analysis actually described it rather well. Ripple is creating a multi-layered infrastructure where both RLUSD and XRP play complementary roles. RLUSD provides the stable liquidity for payments and settlements, while XRP functions as a neutral, fast bridge asset, linking diverse and different cryptocurrencies, I guess, and networks. Now, in other words, RLUSD is the stable dollar value for everyday transactions, the fuel, and XRP is the high-speed vehicle that actually transfers value across the distances. We call that the engine. So the two actually do complement each other perfectly well. So, rather than RLUSD replacing XRP, it actually works hand in hand with XRP. Now, the stablecoin handles the low volatility demand-denominated side of the transactions, and XRP handles the rapid movement and bridging between the different currencies and networks. Or, the more that I kind of thought about it, the more that I actually realized XRP is far from the sidelines here. It's actually, if anything, Ripple is setting the stage to make XRP even more integral to their plans moving further forward. Now, I really kind of resonate with this kind of approach on a personal level. Now, in a way, it's similar to how I manage my own crypto setup, right? I always preach, preparedness, if you will, and having lots of backup options. For example, I have accounts on, Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, LBank, Blowfin, BitGet, among many others. I actually have affiliate links for all of the exchanges on my website, which is linked in the description down below. Of course, if you do use those links, it supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourselves. That's transparency for you. But I do, of course, do all this because you just never know when one exchange might experience an outage or freeze up completely. Right? Especially when the market gets pretty crazy. So I keep plan A, plan B, and plan C. Ripple is basically doing the same thing, but on a much massive scale, or much bigger and more massive scale. They're actually making sure that they have plan A, B, C, and D in the financial world, right? If traditional banking rails are slow or expensive, they have XRP and crypto liquidity as an alternative. If volatility is a concern for certain payments, well, they have a stablecoin ready for stability. They've got institutional platforms lined up for big players and effective, at least efficient blockchain payments channels for non-profits and fintechs too. It's a robust, redundancy-rich strategy. So to me, that's the sign of a company that is preparing to be a cornerstone of global finance and not just a one-click or one-trick pony. By the way, it's probably no coincidence that after getting past the long SEC lawsuit saga, Ripple seemed to be moving pretty fast, or much faster than ever before. And with the regulatory uncertainty largely behind them, they've actually been able to go full throttle on all of these expansions. They're playing chess while a lot of others are just playing checkers. So they're thinking years ahead. And as an XRP holder, that far forward kind of thinking approach is actually really reassuring. So, what's the big takeaway for XRP here? Well, in my view, XRP's narrative is shifting from just a digital asset that might be used someday to a strategic asset at its core of a new financial ecosystem. Now, XRP is becoming the engine, or perhaps the secret weapon, depending on how you want to look at it, right, more and more behind the efficient financial network that Ripple is actively building. Now, to make me pretty bullish, or all of that does kind of make me pretty bullish about XRP's future, I will have to be honest here, it does. It's not like in the sense of it will do 10x next week, trust me bro vibes. No, none of that. Let's kind of be clear, nothing is ever guaranteed. But bullish in that XRP is being set up to have real utility and real demand beyond just pure speculation. Now, it's being woven into real world use cases and big picture plans. And that kind of gives it a kind of value foundation that few crypto projects actually have. Now, of course, we do need to keep expectations grounded. Just because Ripple has this massive war chest and grand vision does not mean that XRP's price will explode overnight, or that everything will go perfectly smoothly. This is a long game, and it's definitely going to take a steady, utility-driven growth over the hype any single day. Right, Ripple appears to be entering a pivotal phase in its own evolution, where RLUSD's traction in both financial and humanitarian sectors and XRP's strategic importance are both rising. Now, as an XRP community member, that's incredibly validating to see. With Ripple's Swell event literally just around the corner, I suspect we're going to hear more about, how these pieces, the stablecoins, the XRP token, the new acquisitions, all of it kind of tied together. Now, the community is definitely buzzing with anticipation. Maybe we'll get new partnership announcements or new use cases for XRP. Whatever happens, you can bet that I'll be paying close attention and will report back on anything big. To wrap this up, I really feel like we're watching XRP's story enter a new chapter. Right? After years of waiting and weathering the storms, we're finally seeing concrete moves that could redefine what XRP does and how valuable it can become in the longer term. Now, it's not just about the speculative hype or the legal wins anymore. It's about the real adoption and the grand strategy coming to fruition. And honestly, I'm excited to see, what happens next. And I'm going to be along, and I hope you guys will be along for the ride to see how it all plays out. If you have enjoyed this video and want to stay in the loop on what happens next, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'll catch you all in the next one.